Welcome to Ronin's Den, everybody. This is Eric. I'm here with my co-host Steve, and we are going to continue our journey through the different classes in Fabula Ultima. And tonight's special version is going to be the Darkblade. What are your thoughts on this class here, Steve?
It's not my favorite. It's good. It has its ups and downs. It's kind of like that dark paladin, the troubled past warrior. Basically, if you want to be that dark past, dark history character, this is kind of your thing.
Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely the edgiest class in the core rulebook.
That's the word I was looking for.
By far. Something I do want everybody to remember as we're going through these videos now, since we're on our third class, Fabula Ultima requires multi-classing. So while we're looking at these classes individually, remember that they're going to be a part of a whole. So that being said, let's look at what you get for choosing a Dark Knight or Darkblade as one of your classes in Fabula Ultima. Automatically, every class gets 2 or 3 quick free benefits with the Darkblade. That is a permanent increase of hit points by 5, and the ability to use martial, melee, and martial armors. The really high damaging weapons and the really good armors. The first skill on the list is going to be called Agony. This is one where after you deal damage to one or more creatures, if you have a bond to at least one of them, you can recover skill level times 2 hit points, and the same thing for mind points. So it's kind of a leeching attack that you can do when you attack something and get a hit.
Yeah, but it does require that bond. So if you take this, you need to be able to get bonds with people. And a lot of times you can't do this with allies. So there are some abilities that need to be taken to synergize with this, or it would be good against a villain that you've named and know it's coming. This is a pretty good ability because getting hit points and mind points back, as we've found out in our games, is very, very important. You burn through mind points like it's nothing, especially if you're a mage or one of those types of classes.
Yeah, absolutely. I was hoping to throw more spells in a row than I've been able to be honest with you.
But that brings us to our second skill that you could potentially take with the Darkblade, and that is Dark Blood, and which is as long as you are in crisis, you have resistance to dark damage and poison damage.
This is a good one, I think, because anything that gives you a resistance to any type of damage is super helpful. In Fabula Ultima, resistance means half damage suffered, and with hit points being able to be whittled away as easily as they are in combat, this resistance can definitely give you a boost to some much-needed survivability.
I will say, though, that the downside to this is you do have to be in crisis. And being the Darkblade, having access to that martial armor, getting to crisis, as our Darkblade in our game has seen, getting to crisis is rather difficult with this class. Especially when most of those abilities that we're going to cover require this class to be in crisis. Yep. Also, there are a lot of damage types, so only getting resistance to dark and poison at crisis, it's not as good of a skill as it looks like on the out front, in my opinion. It's definitely a good skill. I just don't think it's as good as some of the other things you can pick from this class.
I agree. I like the fact that it's a passive ability and it only has 1 skill level, so you don't have to make a big investment into it. You can just take it and you're good. But that'll bring us to Heart of Darkness. Now, this I think is a mandatory skill when it comes to the Darkblade. Once per scene, upon entering crisis, you may choose a specific creature that you can see. If you don't have a bond toward it, you create a bond of hatred with that creature. And this is the linchpin to getting those bonds and getting the other skills to synergize. If you don't have this skill, it's going to be a difficult run with a Darkblade.
Yeah, like you said with Agony, that first skill, this is one, if you're gonna go that route to get those spell or that health and those mind points back, you're automatically gonna want to have to take Heart of Darkness just to get that crisis, just to get that bond and make your Agony worth it. Once again though, it's that being in crisis, right? That's kind of the this is one of the reasons I don't particularly like the Darkblade. I'm not saying it's bad, and there are definitely people who this is their aesthetic, but it's almost forcing you to try to be the target of attacks, trying to make you find ways to be damaged, to do these certain things. And I mean, that's here or there, but it's definitely a micromanagement class, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Then that will bring us to the next skill, which is Painful Lesson. After another creature causes you to lose hit points, you may immediately perform the study action on that creature for free. If you do, gain a bonus equal to skill level to your check. Remember, you can study the same aspect of a creature only once.
That's super handy. The study action is something we haven't used a lot in our game. I would be using it more often if I wasn't so scattered for hit points. The dice just seem to love to attack me, but that's okay. It's all right. Maybe I should have taken a level or two. Maybe I should have taken a level or two of Darkblade, to be honest with you, as often as I'm in crisis. But studying your enemy, being able to learn their vulnerabilities, their resistances, that is super, super handy.
And it's also a free thing with this skill. The study action takes your action. It means you're not attacking, you're not casting a spell, you're not defending, you're not doing something other than trying to learn information, and that takes your action, meaning you get one action per turn, allowing you to be hit and then do a study on them for free. I think that's what makes this skill so good, because it gives you that thing that is a resource drain for free. And honestly, of all the abilities we've touched on, I think this is the one that's kind of the most valuable, because you don't have to be in crisis. It's just when you get hit. And you can learn a bunch of information about your enemies. And so far in our games, we haven't really come into those resistances being a problem, but they might in the future. And the players might need to figure out what's the vulnerability for this guy so I can actually kill it, right? So,
yeah, and knowing what their vulnerabilities are and what their resistances are with Fabula's fluid in combat rounds, where it doesn't have a set initiative order, will allow you to stack your attacks in the most beneficial way possible. So, yeah, this is my favorite ability of all the Darkblade ones. Which brings us to our last ability that they get, Shadow Strike. With this, you learn how to channel your life force into an attack. You may use an action to perform Shadow Strike. You roll your current might die, and you learn that you lose that many hit points equal to the number rolled on your might die. So if you roll a 5, you lose 5 hit points. If this doesn't reduce your hit points to 0, you may perform a free attack with a weapon that you have equipped. If this weapon hits one or more targets, it deals extra damage equal to your skill level, which you can have up to 5 skill levels in this, plus the number you rolled on your might die. However, all damage by this attack becomes dark, and that type of damage can't be changed. So, 2 things with this one. This can be an ability that you use, because like Steve was saying, it's hard to get down to crisis when you have martial armor. So this is a way for you to voluntarily reduce your hit points while outputting more damage. So you can get into that crisis area and make use of the other skills. The downside to this is the damage becomes dark. So if you're fighting something that's resistant to dark damage, or even worse, absorbs dark damage, you're at best doing half damage. You're at worst actually healing the target. It's very situationally beneficial, but it's handy to get you down in the crisis.
So I think Shadow Strike is good if you're building that crisis build, right? If you're trying to get those abilities that put you into crisis, I think it's probably the route to go with Shadow Strike because you're gonna get into crisis. But like you said, that dark damage is kind of an issue, but I think that's negligible compared to the extra damage output and being able to get yourself to those abilities. All in all, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the Darkblade. It's probably my least favorite class in the game. But I can definitely see the appeal of Shadow Strike to make those crisis abilities beneficial.
Yep. My final thoughts on the class are, alone, it doesn't really draw me in. As part of a whole character build, there are some abilities in there that I would definitely enjoy and use, like Painful Lesson. Agony, situationally, but Painful Lesson is something I would definitely want to pull out of this class into a couple of the builds that I have in mind for future characters.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. I don't want to say the opposite. I don't foresee myself ever taking this class. I think the negatives, the micromanagement, there's just so much you have to track with this class that it feels more like homework to me than actually playing it. And once again, there are people that love that type of thing, love that micromanagement, love the way the mechanics work with other classes. It's just not something that I would find interesting. So for me, it's definitely on that bottom tier of classes, but I definitely get the appeal. Who doesn't want to play the Brooding Avenger?
Absolutely. Well, those are my final thoughts on it. Why don't you go ahead, take us on out, and we'll pick up again.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for watching. Once again, we're going to be doing a breakdown of every class in Fabula Ultima. Our goal is to hit everyone and make a short video like this. You can catch us on our Welcome to Capiterra streams, which are going about every other Saturday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on the Purple app, or you can catch them the next day on YouTube. It means a lot to us. If you like these videos and want to see more, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. It means a lot to us. And thank you for watching.